All right. And it looks like we're live. Thomas Hill here with CD Technology. I have Ashley Burnett Davis with me as our guest speaker, and we'll get to know more about her here in just a second. Rebecca Hill is also on with us. She's going to be moderating the chat, and I believe if everyone would go to the chat channel right now and just put in the company that you're with, so that we know who's here and who can hear us. That would be helpful for us to make sure there's no technical issues. And we'll give everybody just another minute or two before we start going. So again, can everybody hear us? Can you go ahead and put your company in the chat box? I see Jeannie Allen. Rebecca wants to know if you brought pancakes for everybody. Okay, so now I'm getting concerned that nobody can hear me.
I can hear you.
Well, I'm glad that you can hear me. Stephen Haney with Heartland. Can you just type here just so that I know that everyone can hear us? Oh, there's Jeannie. No, you're right, Jeannie. We can't hear you. That's why we're doing the chat. So you have to. So I have to. You have to put in the chat, who you're with and that kind of thing, so we know everyone is here. Jeannie, go get you another cup of coffee, okay? and Rebecca still wants her pancakes. Let's see here. Who else is with us? If you would, just put in the chat what company you're with, so that we know. Jeannie says no pancakes this morning. Oh well. All right. Well, I'm going to assume since Jeannie can hear us that everyone else can hear us, so we're going to go ahead and get going. Again, my name is Thomas Hill with CD Technology. If you would, this is going to be kind of a one-way presentation, and if you'd like to ask questions, please ask questions. But Ashley Burnett and I will be talking about company culture and how you can best use that to retain your top talent, how you can make the most of it to make your customers feel like they're special, because I have found that if you make your employees and staff feel like they're special, then that will translate to your customers as well. So again, we want to make sure that you can have input, but we're doing that through chat. So if you go to the very top where it says attendee chat, just simply put in what your questions are, and Rebecca will be moderating those, and will let me know when there's questions, and we'll get those answered for you. So Ashley, tell me a little bit about yourself and your company.
My name's Ashley Burnett Davis. I know a lot of you that are on this call, but for those of you who don't know me, I do a number of things, wear a number of hats. The reason I'm here today is I am the owner and chief creative officer of Kellum Creek Business Solutions. We do things that small businesses, medium-sized businesses may not have available in-house. So we take care of marketing, advertising, public relations, and human resources, which is where company culture comes in.
Okay. Well, excellent. So how long have you been the chief executive creation officer at Kellum Creek?
We are going on 4 years now.
And what do you like best about it?
I absolutely love my team, which I think plays well into this particular topic of conversation. When you build the right team and you have the right people around you, work is an awful lot of fun, and you get a lot more done. So,
Okay.
shout out to it. absolutely fabulous team at Kellum.
Okay, well, that's awesome. And I have met several of them in different severe functions and that kind of thing. They really are a great group of people. So, congratulations on building that team. And that kind of goes into what we're kind of talking about today. Is what are some of the aspects that you used to build that team? And I think some of it's going to be company culture. So let's kind of talk about that.
Sure. Company culture is sort of a buzzword. A lot of folks, hear company culture, and we all know that somewhere deep down that means that the team that is working in any particular business is relatively happy if you have a good company culture. But you need to dig into that a little bit, especially if you're in leadership, because company culture is very dynamic and things can change. So when we talk about company culture, essentially what we're talking about is the personality of an organization. And it encompasses a lot of things. It's the values and the beliefs and the behaviors and the practices that shape how work gets done within your four walls as a company. But it's also the atmosphere that's created by how your employees interact with each other and management, and your company's mission statement, your vision statement, and all those sort of unwritten norms that influence daily operations.
So, so you mentioned a lot of things, mission statement, and so what were some of the other things you mentioned there? I didn't write them down as you were
Well, I mean,
talking.
a huge part of company culture is how your team interacts with one another and their
Okay.
leaders. Yeah, I think that's probably the pivotal thing about culture.
So how does that impact your staff directly? Like, have you seen? I'm sure you have probably worked or that kind of thing with companies that didn't put a lot of investment into company culture. Can you kind of do the pros and cons of that?
Well, yeah, and I think probably everyone on this call at some point or another has worked in an environment that, I remember my dad saying when I was a teenager, he's like, there's nothing worse than getting up in the morning and hating the idea of going to work, right? And as leaders, that statement made a huge impact on me. But as leaders, that's something we have to be very conscious of. You want the folks who are working with you, for you, around you to have a very positive perception of what's going on in your workplace. If you have a strong and positive company culture, um, employees feel a part of that community. They have higher job satisfaction. They collaborate better with one another and with you, and it drives performance. Um, Employees who are engaged perform better. When you can get folks to align with your company's goals and values and they're invested, it just makes them more likely to go the extra mile to take care of your clients, which I've always said, if you take care of your employees, they'll take care of the folks that you're serving. And that is a wonderful thing for any company. On the flip side, a toxic culture causes stress and burnout, and your employees can become disengaged. And of course, a disengaged employee leads to decreased productivity and just a higher absenteeism. You hear about uh, things like quiet quitting, as another buzz term around company culture, where employees may still be employed at a job, but they sort of slack off and they stop doing the work they really should be doing. They're not engaged, and that's not good for anyone.
So one of the so here at CD Technology, we have a set of core values that we developed many years ago, and one of them is wow the client. And
So,
it's we call it wow the client. So WOW, wowing the client.
mhm.
And but but in my opinion, wowing the client kind of starts off with wowing the staff member. Um,
Sure.
you know, I feel like a lot of times when companies hire a new staff member, a lot of times they'll kind of bring them in and kind of sit them down at a desk and they'll be kind of like, well, Congratulations on your new job. Hope everything goes well. And and
And it's
that's
almost
kind of that.
painful, isn't it? Yeah. Um,
And so I think one of the things that many companies could probably do a better job at is having a set of systems and processes set up, for when that new staff member comes on board. I've seen it, and I'm not saying that we're perfect and we've got this down. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that we try really hard to invest into that new employee so that at the end of the first day, when they go home and they talk with their spouse, you know, the first words out of their mouth aren't, "Well, that was kind of a boring day," or, I felt really underwhelmed. You kind of want that staff member to go home and go, "Wow, my first day there was fantastic." They had business cards already set up for me. They had a welcome package for me, and what I'm saying. So,
I
I feel
love that
like
you're conscious of the impact it makes, and the impact it makes right off the bat, right? That
right,
first day is hugely important. I forget the statistics, but I'm always sort of amazed, and there is a number out there. Talks about the number of folks who don't show up to a new job after the first couple of days.
right,
So you
yeah.
definitely, we're all looking for employees right now, right? Everyone needs great help. And so a lot of that is how you onboard these folks.
Yeah, so I def so yeah, and so that's what I was getting ready. Rebecca was just asking. So that's one thing, one area where I know that I can do better at. So what are some other areas? So so onboarding a new staff member. So what are some other areas that we as employers can be doing um, to really just do a better job at having really great company culture?
So when we talk about good company culture, excuse me, I'm losing my voice this morning. Um, you know, a lot of things play into that. Um, just sort of an overarching answer to that, and I'll delve a little deeper here in a few minutes, is that, you want to be very clear from the very beginning with your mission and values. And some companies are like, I don't have a very clear mission and values, in writing somewhere. Sit down with your staff, get their buy-in, talk to them about what's important to them, about where they work, what they do, and create a mission and values statement for your company if you don't have one. And then as you bring people on, make sure that they know about those. That's something I talk to people about in interviews because I want people to feel that they're part of it from the beginning. And I want them to agree with the mission and values statements that we have. If someone's in an interview and they don't agree with that, they may look great on paper, but they may not be a good fit for the organization. So
Absolutely,
that's really really important. And once somebody is on board, you need to allow them, to know who to go to if there's a problem or if they've just had a great win in their business day. Let there be someone in the office they can talk to. Create open communication so that if there's a question or a problem or a concern, it's really, really comfortable to talk to someone in the office and just encourage an open dialogue at every level of your organization if you can. Also, and I think this is incredibly important, if someone has an issue with their direct leader, let them know who else they can go to. Sometimes that doesn't happen, and just sitting down and having a great conversation can solve an awful lot of problems. But if you have an employee who has an issue with their leader and they have nowhere else to turn, it creates a difficult situation and poor morale immediately. So there's something to think about.
yeah,
Uh,
and I think if you don't mind me interjecting just a little bit, so we're a company of about 13, 14 staff members, and so when you're a company that small, most of the time all of your staff are going to report to the owner, the CEO of that particular small company. But one of the things that we did is that yes, they can report to me, but I always make sure that they know that there's another team member that they can also report to. Like Wes Bruce, for example, is my operations manager. So if you're a technician, and they don't want to speak to me specifically, they can always speak to Wes. Now, of course, Wes is always going to whisper in my ear what's going on, but and vice
Well,
versa.
you need to
Maybe
know what's going on as the owner of the company, right? You need to
yeah,
know,
yeah,
the things that are affecting morale in your workplace because
yeah,
that
and
affects productivity.
and
Yeah.
and sometimes it is the owner. I mean, I'm not always in the best of moods on all days, and so that
I think
doesn't.
yeah, as leaders, we need to recognize that sometimes we are the problem.
Yeah,
Um, and so a little bit of humility, and giving yourself some grace. But then, if your employees, if your teammates have issues, listen to them. Don't shut that down. Some of the best feedback and some of the greatest ideas come from team members who are struggling. Talk to them, and they're going to be a lot more receptive too if they feel they can come to you with an issue about you. So
yeah.
just kind of be aware, be humble, and even if you don't agree with their feedback, listen to them, and keep that open dialogue going.
So just to kind of pause here for just a second, if those are who are listening, if you know what your company's mission statement is, share that with us in the chat if you don't mind. We'd love to kind of hear your interaction. So if you want to do that, let's go ahead and put that in there. Also, another thing that I'm going to interject a little bit. So we were talking about company mission statement and core values and that kind of thing. So one of the things that we did again several years ago, and I don't know if you can see this little card. Oh, you can't because of the way it's way my monitor does the thing. But anyway, we have developed this card, and it's on like a permanent plastic. I got to put it in front of my nose in order to. Any Anyway, we developed this little card, and it's on like plastic paper, and it's one of the very first things that we give all of our new staff members, and it has our 4 core values, which I'll just quickly go through them: counting upon character, team focused action, wowing the client, and a go getter attitude. And then it has value statements for each one of those on there as well, and so we were kind of talking about before, onboarding and kind of getting everyone in the same direction. And this is just a one good way that we have found that all staff members can kind of look at this, and it sits on their desk, and or they can put it in their pocket and keep it with them, and they pretty much always know how to take care of a client because it's pretty much answered in these four values in some way, and so if there's ever a doubt, all you would have to do is just know these 4 values and some of the examples that we've put on here, and you should be able to take care of a client, a client's problems, without having to come to us. And that's also one of the things that we do is that we try to um,
You empower your people.
empower. Thank you.
Yeah,
Rebecca whispered, "Give ownership," but
yeah,
we try to empower our folks to be able to answer the question without having to come to someone else to see if they can do it. And sometimes that's part of wowing the client is giving them more than we would typically give just to make sure that we take care of the issue that they're concerned about.
yeah.
So that's one way that we do it.
And I
um,
think that's a wonderful thing. One, it says to your employees, "Hey, I trust you to make a good decision for this client." You are building them up every time they have the opportunity to do that. But by giving them that little card, everyone's on the same page. They
yeah.
all know what's expected. There's no question. It's right there.
So I wanted to share. So Alicia, she's from Remote Area Medical, and I wanted to share their statement, which is to prevent pain and alleviate suffering by providing free, quality health care to those in need. Um,
Oh, and they do
and
a great job. I'm familiar with that organization.
yes,
Mm.
Remote Area Medical has been a customer of ours for probably going on 10 years now. I have seen them grow from just a handful of computers to gosh, I don't even know how many they have now, but it's bunches. It's a very much larger organization than it certainly was even just 10 years ago, and we're proud to
They do
have
great work in this community. So
absolutely. All
thank
right.
you.
So anyway, so yeah, if anyone else wants to share their statement, I'll give a shout out to your company as well. Okay, so let's see here a little bit more. So let's say you have never really thought about company culture before, and I know we've kind of gone over a couple of these already. If you've never thought about it before, you probably need to start out with defining your values and your goals and that kind of thing. But what are some other practical things that someone can do?
So if you're in leadership and this is becoming a focus for you, I think the first thing you need to do is sort of assess the current state of your culture. And if you think you know what's going on as a leader, I'll just tell you right now, you're probably wrong. So you need to sit down and have some good one-on-one conversations with each of your employees. If you have a larger group, you could do a survey or a focus group and just give everyone the chance to sort of express what they're feeling and to tell you what their perception is of the work they do and the environment they do it in. And let them know that it's a completely safe environment to do that. Like you're not going to be mad, you're really looking for feedback to make things better. If you do have a mission and value statement at that point, it's a great time after you've had those conversations to sort of reflect on those and um, and to start setting some goals around the feedback you've been given. You want to consider how well what's happening in your work environment aligns with the things that you've said your mission and values are. And sometimes it's really difficult to look at what's going on in your workplace day to day and to see how it levels up to all your expectations. So it's a great time to start identifying areas of improvement and create a plan. And if you do those things by involving your team, they're much more likely to help you work that plan and to create a better organization.
Okay. So what are what are some things that you have seen other companies do? I guess what I'm really kind of looking at is like some solid examples of of what makes a company with really great culture different than another company. And of course, I know that we've talked about the values and that kind of thing. But what are some like just everyday examples that you've seen other companies do?
Well, I think, you have to recognize great work. You need to acknowledge and reward employees when they're doing something well. You need to be very conscious of work life balance. Um, you need to help people become better by offering opportunities for professional development. You can institute health and wellness programs. There are so many things you can do. um, let's go back to recognition for a second. I just
Okay.
mentioned that. It doesn't have to be anything amazing or huge. You don't have to give someone a $5,000 bonus. If someone's done a great job at the end of the week, say, hey, I really appreciate what you've done. Can I take you out to lunch today? Or, you know, put a gift card for a local restaurant in their paycheck. Something small with a little note that says, "I see what you're doing and I appreciate you." It goes an awful long way. Um, you know, um, the people that are spending 40 hours a week with you are seeing you more than they see their spouses and their children very often, and they need to know that you are on their team. So I think it's really, really important. And that kind of leads into the work-life balance piece of things. We hear that term a lot, but you need to be very uh, amenable to folks having a life outside your workplace. They will be better employees because of it. As a young professional, I love to work. I love what I do. But I would spend hours and hours beyond what I needed to in my office. And I decided to take a vacation at some point in my late 20s. Put my vacation notice into my supervisor, and he asked me to meet him the first morning of my vacation at the office, which I did because I loved, even though I didn't have to be there, I absolutely loved what I did, and I loved him as an employer, and showing up was a no-brainer for me.
Okay.
So I'm standing in the parking lot with him, and he asked for my laptop and my phone, and he took them from me, and he locked them in the trunk of his car because he wanted to make sure I actually took a vacation, right? To this day, I think that's one of the best things anyone's ever done for me. So just be supportive of your folks having a life outside the office or outside the workplace. Um, you know, be encouraging when they wanna go to a kid's ball game or, if they want to take a long weekend with their spouse. They need those things, and they will be much more loyal to you if you support them, and they will be better employees all around, so.
So, I think so you hit on a couple of really good things there. One of the things that we do when we onboard a new staff member is we have kind of a questionnaire actually that we give them, and I don't have that questionnaire in front of me, but basically it asks, how do you like to be recognized?
Good question.
When you do a job well done, how do you like to be recognized? And
Mhm.
you know because what we wanna do is, some people don't actually want to be recognized publicly, I have found,
That's true.
and so this way, it gives us an opportunity to recognize them the way that they want to be recognized, and so I have some staff members that want to be recognized publicly, and we'll do shout outs and, either in our team meetings or on our team channel that we have. We have some that have just said, I just want a small note that says that I did a good job, and what it was that I did. And so we'll handwrite a note. But one of the things also is in there is we'll ask them, well, what is it that you like to do? Or what is it that you like to eat, and that kind of thing. And so that way, when we do have an opportunity to reward a staff member, we're not sending them pizza if they don't like pizza,
That's a very good
you know,
point.
so again, this gives us an opportunity to really understand what it is that they like and reward them appropriately. So that's definitely one thing that we try to do. Another thing that we try to do as a company is, you're talking about having that work home life split. Not everyone on our team can do this, but we have several members on our team that have expressed um, basically they want to work 4-day work weeks, and so we have worked it out that they're able to work 4-day work weeks. And again, this is an opportunity, and I know 4-day work weeks is a difficult thing for a lot of companies, and you can't necessarily um, institute that across the board. But you know, I guess it kind of goes back to what you're talking about is if there is a way to accommodate staff members, then why not? Because at the end of the day, they're going to be giving 110% when they are
Right.
they're taking care of your customers.
So, and you're right, not every position can be flexible. But if you have the opportunity to be flexible with an employee's, wants in their position, then by all means, within reason, do those things. I have a couple of employees that work in the office half the time and work remotely half the time, and they do great work. So as long as they're doing great work and getting the job done, it works for us. So it doesn't work for everyone, but if you have the opportunity, it's worth a try.
Okay. So need to point out Steve Haney. He's with Heartland Services in Sevierville.
Hey,
They
Steve.
do you know Steve as well?
I do. Yeah.
So their mission statement is to provide quality services that promote personal choice, self-respect, and dignity. And Heartland Services, rather, for those that are not aware, they they provide support for adults with disabilities. and they do a great job at that. And we do are thankful that they're in Sevier County. So thank you for sharing that, Stephen. Um, okay, so yeah, so we're getting close to the end here, where we're going to want to give away a $50 Aubrey's gift card to those who have stayed on with us, and Rebecca would still like for you to go ahead and put your company name in the chat so that she knows everyone that's in there. I think she's concerned that some of them just have phone numbers. And actually, there's a couple of names on here I do not recognize as well. So if you would just put your company name in the chat there so that we know who you are. And Rebecca is going to be putting all those names into a hat here in just a little bit, and she'll be telling us who gets that card. Yeah, we're coming to the end of our webinar. We're going to do kind of a little bit of a recap. So talking about company culture. So we want to make sure that we clearly communicate our mission and values to our staff. We want to make sure that we provide our staff with really great peer support. And we want to make sure that we start from the very beginning with a good onboarding process, and we have clear lines of communication. Do you have any other last thoughts, Ashley, as we're kind of bringing this to an end?
So I think if you're a leader, you need to be proactive in company culture. It needs to be on your mind at all times, even if it's not top of mind. Make sure it's somewhere there's something to remind you of it, and you want to continuously seek feedback from your team. You want to be involved. You want to know what's going on, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what's going well, and what's not, because the only way that you can continue a great company culture or build one, if yours isn't in a great place right now, is to have that feedback. So make sure that lines of communication are open and stay open.
Okay, so I was just kind of looking up just some different company culture kind of things, and one of the things on here is making work fun, and so and we haven't really talked about this a little bit, so and I kind of wanted to end in it, and so they kind of had some ideas on here how to make work fun, and
Cool.
they talk about embracing fun lunches, they talk about allowing staff to have days where they get to dress how they want to or something like that. Of course, just making your office environment pleasant by having indoor plants and that kind of thing, having comfortable work areas where they can relax. Perhaps having a bring your dog to work day, which we actually well, I don't know
We
if we
like
do
that
it as
around. Yeah.
yeah, we bring my doodle to especially during the winter because she doesn't like to be cold. But during the summer she likes the outdoors, so she likes to stay home. But during the winter we like to bring the doodle. Um, so just having different fun team building exercises and that kind of thing. Can you think of anything fun that your team has done?
So we love team building days where we go out and do activities and have a great lunch together, and sometimes we bring spouses and significant others, and everyone gets along well, and that's great. But another thing that my staff really enjoys is the opportunity to volunteer, and they get to choose where they volunteer. We pay them for the day, but they feel like they get to go out and do something great in the community, and it's a cause they're engaged in. So
Now,
that's another thing that you can do for your folks. Yeah,
that is a great idea. I have actually looked into that, and I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. But that is something that's kind of on my heart a little bit as well, is to encourage community service in your staff, because it benefits everybody. It benefits them and it benefits the community. So,
it is.
all
It's a good
right.
thing. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate everyone that has logged in and is listening. So Rebecca has put all the names into a hat and has pulled out Brittany with Lawhorn TPA in Knoxville,
Cool.
Tennessee. So Brittany, we will be sending you a $50 gift card to to Aubrey's, and so I highly recommend that you figure out what team member you're going to bring with you. So, well, Ashley
Congratulations.
Burnett, yeah, Ashley Burnett, I really appreciate your time. If anybody has any questions about your company or your organization, how would they contact you?
They're welcome to give our office a call. It's 865-286-5285. Or they can email me. My email is ashley@kellumcreek.com.
Awesome. And again, my name is Thomas Hill. I'm with CD Technology, and we provide IT help desk and cybersecurity support for businesses right here in East Tennessee. And so if anyone ever has a computer issue that is not already a customer of ours, always feel free to reach out to me at thill@cdtechnology.com, and we would be happy to see what we can do to get you all straightened out. So, Ashley Burnett, I really appreciate your time, and we
Thank you
hope to
for having
speak
me
with you
today.
again real soon. Okay.
Take care. Bye bye.
All right. Everyone, make it a great day. We'll see you.